Welcome to the Quinlan Consulting Team MYOB Software update. During this session, I'm going to talk to you about some of the new software that's been released by MYOB. I'm going to talk to you about the history of how each of the versions evolved, and I'm going to talk to you about pros, cons, costs, and comparisons to some of the other software on the market as well. Okay, a copyright is shown on the screen. In this particular case, I'm happy for this video to be distributed to people outside of the mentor program, so feel free to pass this around to others. For those who I haven't met, my name is Tom Quinlan. I am the CEO of Quinlan Consulting, and I'll be taking you through this online version of the session today. Now, as I do talk through the different options for this session, it is important that I do say that the information I'm putting forward today is my personal opinion. This is not necessarily researched in any way other than 15 years of my personal experience in using MYOB, QuickBooks, SAP, and other software solution. Okay, so you can please take the information I'm giving you. You can then go and review that and consider that for how that may suit your best scenarios for what you need for your work or business environment. We don't take any responsibility for any losses incurred from using the information within this video. So let's now kick on. This is a slide out of our MYOB basic course. Now in here we are talking about some of the various packages. I'm not going to go through that in detail because it's for our mentor students. They can access this video when they need to any day. But a quick summary for those who haven't joined our course yet. MYOB Business Basics is one of the entry-level packages that was out, followed by Accounting, Accounting Plus, and then Premier, which also was followed by higher versions such as MYOB Enterprise and MYOB EXO. Now, this slide is actually about 4 or 5 years old from this pack. I haven't updated it for a couple of years. So traditionally, and from history, this is the product ranges that MYOB was promoting and where they were selling most of their product range through. These are PC-based versions, so by PC, none of these run on the web, and it was designed that they would simply be installed onto a computer and they would work from there. Now, in this case, these particular ones are all focused towards Windows type environments. There was equivalent types for Mac, which I'm going to talk about shortly. But as a background, if I go back a couple of years, the MYOB Basics was probably around about $150. That was good for very small businesses. It does lack things like a accounts payable subsidiary ledger. There is no payroll, no inventory, no foreign currency. It is, as the name suggests, pretty basic, so really only suitable for tradespeople and very small businesses. Okay, so the entry price, as I said, was about $150. The entry price for this is currently now selling at $359. So you can see the price has essentially doubled over the last probably five or so years. MYOB Accounting was quite a step up and still is. This used to sell anywhere for around about probably $300–400. This is currently now selling for around $579 as a retail price. This does bring to you most things that you would need out of an accounting package, with the exception of payroll. So businesses that don't have payroll would certainly be able to run their business on here. We then jumped up to Accounting Plus. Accounting Plus did bring you plus payroll predominantly, a few other bits and pieces, but mainly the payroll aspect. That used to sell for about $700, $650. This now sells as retail for $1,019, so you can see quite a large jump in price. Not really bringing you much new functionality. There is a little bit, but not. There's definitely not 30% more functionality. And then we would jump up to MYOB Premier, which used to sell for around about $1,200–1,300, which is currently retailing for $1,099, so essentially $2,000. So you can see in the last 5 years, MYOB has pushed the prices up a lot. And in most of these areas we haven't seen any significant functionality increases probably in the last 3 to 4 years. And part of the reason for that is it is a very stable environment. It does do most of the things businesses need. It's very strong in the back-end accounting principles, and most businesses will be able to run their business from here no problem. So what then happened? We had a product called Xero come out. Xero, for those who haven't used it, is a totally web-based environment. it only runs over the internet, so if you don't have an internet connection, you can't run Xero. Quite ironic that Xero markets itself as one of the environments where you can get access to it anywhere, where in reality, if you don't have internet, you can't get access to it. Where if you were on an aeroplane or something, you would be able to access any of these MYOB files as long as you had the data file with you. So in my opinion, you've actually got more access to the PC-based versions than you do to the web versions. Where the web versions do come in useful is that you can have more than one person, or at least a separate person, log into the system from different locations. Okay, so if you're a very small business and you're running around and maybe you want your account to have a look every now and then, it does make it easier in that space. If you're a medium to a large size business, then you're generally going to have your staff in the office wanting to use the PC-based versions rather than running around. Anyway, there's not a lot of accountants that run around in a car and go out and do a lot of other things. Most of them tend to work from a desk. So anyway, that's a bit of history. So what then happened is MYOB started to feel a bit of pressure from Xero. They tried to bring out a live version. That live version they called Account Write Live. So it was looking at both this, looking at the space predominantly in this account, MYOB accounting and MYOB accounting plus area. So, and it called those Account Write Live. Just before that, it also had a go of turning this MYOB Business Basic one into an online version. And it called that online version MYOB Live Accounts. Now that MYOB Live Accounts was, as I said, essentially the MYOB Business Basics, but it actually had a little bit of payroll in there as well. Now, it was a very basic payroll, so if you had an advanced payroll, you wouldn't be able to pay those people. But it was enough, again, for a small business that was very small and had a couple of staff that were, pretty standard payroll, should be able to get on and do that web-based. Okay, so they ran that for a couple of years, and they've recently, as in the last week, have rebranded that to MYOB Essentials. Okay. Now I'm actually presenting this as of almost the middle of April 2014. So if you're watching this in the future, keep in mind the date. But just recently they've rebranded the MYOB Live Accounts as MYOB Essentials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through. We're going to have a look at the MYOB Live Essentials account, and you get a bit of an idea of what it looks like, what it does, and you can decide for yourself what you think of it. Okay, so what I've done so far is I've logged into the MYOB site, I've logged into Live Accounts, and as it says, Live Accounts is now MYOB Essentials. And up the top right hand side, there's an area where I can log in. Okay, so again, this is all web based. If I'm not connected to the internet, this doesn't work, I can't connect. The other thing you're going to find with the web solution is that the MYOB file does not sit on my does not sit on my PC, it will sit on the MYOB server. Now that in itself is the same as products like Xero and some of the products coming out from QuickBooks. I guess there's pros and cons of that. The pro is that they're probably backing their servers up on a regular basis. Some of the cons are, well, I guess some of the questions will start to come through. What happens if you don't pay subscription? Who then owns the data? How do you get that data? There's also issues around the fact that, at least for Xero, you can't do a backup in Xero. Okay, so if you wanted to do a backup and save it as the figures looked after you've done a batch, for example, that's not possible. Xero will tell you that you can do a backup. All you can do is you can do a PDF backup of something like a P&L and balance sheet. That's not a backup, that's a report. So Xero does not let you do a backup. MYOB Essentials is the same. You cannot do a backup in MYOB Essentials. Some of the other MYOB versions you can, which is beneficial. Some of the other advantages I guess some of the advantages of the online, as I said, you can access it from places other than the office if you do have an internet connection. Okay, some of the disadvantages is you are going to find the speed is slower. Okay. It just is. If you're trying to use a Microsoft Word document on your desktop, it's going to be faster than if you jump on and try and do changes and stuff through an online environment. Okay, so you're going to get a list of clients. I'm running off a backup here, so there's only one here. But what you would then do is you would log in to a particular business. You can add a business if you like. Once you get into the business, You will then see as you log in, this is just a dummy one that I've set up, so this is for no business in particular, but what you're going to see here is a dashboard. Okay, so you're going to see that everything is web-based. Okay, so all the icons are as you would expect. They've got that internet type feel, but it gives you a bit of a dashboard. So let's now go through and have a look at some of the reports and show you what you can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on Sales. I'm then going to click on Create Invoice, and it's going to bring this screen up here. Okay, so again, it looks somewhat similar to what you would expect in MYOB, which is a good thing. The layout's fairly good. There are some different fields. You will find things like, if I change the payment terms to, say 8 days, it's going to do automatic updates. There are items, I can have items in here. You can set all these up as you would in MYOB. So unlike the MYOB Business Basic PC version, there is some inventory functionality in here. It's more from a sales perspective, but it does allow you to do that. So you can save some of these, you can record stuff. It's all fairly simple in that layout. I guess some of the bigger benefits is probably around the banking. So let me take you through. If we click on banking, what we can do is you can actually set up bank allocation rules. So let's have a look at some of the bank allocation rules. And this is one of the major differences to the... Okay, in our bank allocation rules, we're going to see things where we can go and match text. So essentially what MYOB is going to do, as would be something like Xero, is it's going to link into your actual bank. Okay, so if you're banking with, say, the NAB, it will actually connect up with the NAB, and it will download automatically your bank transactions. However, where the benefit is what you can do is you can create rules in here. So for example, if there is anything where it says Bristol Paint in the statement that gets downloaded, so for that line in the description from the bank, you can tell MYOB you want to allocate it to a certain chart of account. Okay, so for example, if it says Vodafone, you want to allocate it to the telephone account. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to do a lot of the data entry for you. Okay, so there are some. This is where the benefit is. So we can drill down on this a bit further and have a look. Okay, so as I drill down, I can now see here's the allocation rule in detail. So it does allow me to split percentages. So this is good. So for example, if you're claiming, say, a percentage of your home rent for business, you might say, look, for example, maybe 20% gets allocated to a certain account, and then the other 80% would be allocated to something like a drawings or a loan with director type account. You can also set default tax codes for each time it downloads. Okay, so there are some benefits in this space. The other thing it will do is when you get, so I guess this works really well, particularly for small businesses where they want to essentially record stuff on a cash basis. Okay, so most small businesses will be running their BAS on a cash basis, which is fine. A lot of small businesses don't really look at their P&L. Okay, so if they're just coding stuff straight from a bank statement, so for example something like Bunnings, it may have been that the invoice was from May, but it was paid in June. Now if you're using this allocation rule, and it's going to come straight through here, then it's going to allocate that expense and the payment to June. So an expense that belongs in your P&L in May is now going to appear on your P&L in June. Okay, now small businesses don't really care because they don't really look at their P&L anyway, as much as they should, but bigger businesses will have a concern with that. But apart from that, there is also the ability that you can go into, for example, the sales area. When you raise sales invoices, MYOB, when it downloads from the bank the transaction, it will look for deposits where there is a description. It will try and match off the invoice number, and where it does, it will do its best to allocate that to the right invoice for you. I won't show you now, but what happens is you get a pop-up screen and it shows you, for example, it might say, okay, we've got this invoice, it looks like it matches this invoice, and basically it asks you to link them. If you do link them, it will then apply it to the invoice for you. Okay. Now I have found some gaps in trying to allocate out some transactions where there's been deposits paid first of all, and then money comes in later and doesn't quite work as I would like it to. So again, for very straightforward bookkeeping and some of the small businesses that are fairly straightforward, this will work very well. And that bank feed is a very big benefit to a lot of small businesses. Okay, but as you start getting a bit of complexity, some of the online solutions can fall over a little bit. Okay, so that's the MYOB Essentials. Let's take you back to where we were before and just say that, as I said, the MYOB Essentials, you can buy Business Basics these days for about $360. To rent the online Essentials version, you're going to pay $29 a month. Okay, but in that case, there actually is some fair bit of difference between the two software, given there is some more functionality around payroll and also some of those bank feeds as well. So that is probably, well, that is a better solution than, sorry, the online version is actually better, in my opinion, than a PC version of that basic one. So let's now jump up to the next one. We've got Accounting and Accounting Plus. Okay, so no payroll and with payroll. That costs retail currently $580 and $1,020. Okay, now the online versions of these are very similar to what you saw with the Essentials version. However, they also allow you to have a client version or a PC version, and you can actually kind of jump between the two. Okay, now the way it works is you still, in this case, own the data file yourself. So the data that you've got, you can download that to your computer. You can take backups of it as you would with the PC version. So the AccountWrite Live version, as they call it for these, does have the bank feeds, which is a plus. But unlike Xero, it also allows you to be able to own your data file, download it, take backups, and do all those kind of accounting fundamentals that we would want to see. Okay, so again, in my opinion, MYOB is far and away outweighing the Xero product. Xero is pretty trendy at the moment. It's a bit like getting a Mac versus the PC. And if you're going into graphics, then you probably want the Mac. But going into business, if you want to buy a Mac to be trendy, that's great. But you get into business and they don't work properly in business. Okay, you find a lot of the software doesn't match. A lot of the solutions just won't run on a Mac. Okay, so it's a little bit similar with Xero. Xero is really trendy at the moment, but I can tell you from my experience, it's not a product that I would use if I wanted to actually run a business outside of a very small business. I would be jumping back to MYOB every time. Now, let's draw back to MYOB because that's what we want to talk about here. So the PC versions are there, and you'll probably be familiar with those. If I take you through a quick, I suppose, sample company, what we've currently got is version 19.9 as I speak in April 14. That is the current version. And I think I've actually opened up Premiere, I have, but it's going to be the same kind of layout. So you're going to see this type of layout, and it looks almost, in fact, it looks the same as Premiere, except Premiere will have some additional functionality. If you're running the AccountWrite standard version, you would not be seeing payroll and time billing because you don't get those because you pay less. If you're running the AccountWrite Plus, then you would be seeing all of this. Okay, and you see, I'll click a different button. As you see, as I scroll around, as I click on things, they're pretty much instantaneous that they're going to bring the reports up straight away. Okay. If I jump you into the equivalent of the web version of these, it does come with the ability to be able to do it on your PC, but also the web. So first of all, I'll load up and show you the PC version, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons of that. Okay, what I'm loading here is the AccountWrite 2013.5 version, which was the current version in March 2014. Now, as you'll see, loading up, what I did in the older version, which I'll call version 19.9, was probably about a 2-second process. Okay, this is now running off a machine that probably got 3 or 4 meg of RAM. Meg of memory, and quite a good processor in it, but you'll still see it's going to really struggle to just load it up. Okay, so from there I can go into a sample company, and again you're just going to see it's going to take probably a minute or so to load up by the time you get there from start to finish. And this is one of the problems that MYOB has had with its online versions over the last probably year or two since it started following Xero down this space. My opinion, of which I stand by 100%, is that they followed Xero because they felt they had to, the marketplace. They didn't have a product that was ready. They brought out a product that was called 2012, and if you look at some of my newsletters from past years, we basically told people don't use it because it doesn't work. Okay. Now, MYOB, if you bought the 2012 version, then MYOB are currently saying they'll upgrade you to the current version for free because they might not do it in their marketing material, but if you ring them, they'll tell you that they agree that 2012 didn't work. Okay, it was slow and it had bugs. 2013 didn't have the bugs, or didn't have as many bugs, but as you can see, it's dead slow, very hard to work with. So again, we kind of said, look, if you have to work with 2013, don't really like it, but if you have to, go for it. The new version 2014 has just come out, and we're going to talk to you about that in a moment. But this is 2013, so you can see it's got the same feel as the MYOB version 19.9 type products for Premier. But as I click on things, probably not a good example, if I click on something like sales and enter a sale, you are going to see it's going to take a lot longer to actually do anything. Okay, so I'm going to wait maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13 seconds. Okay. Now this computer that I'm using is a little bit older. It's probably about, say, 3 or 4 years old, probably 4 years old. Okay, but it's not a bad computer, and you could see what was happening in version 19.9 of Premier was almost instantaneous. That was probably a 10-second process just to open up a screen, which in my opinion is not acceptable. Okay, so let's go through. Again, it's got some of the drop-down layouts you're used to seeing, so it's got the same kind of look and feel. Okay, a little bit different. It's got a few things, up the top here that used to be down the bottom, but overall it's pretty similar. And if you've used the older version of 19.9, you'll be able to get around this one no problem. Okay, there'll be a few little things you need to work through. Okay, it does, as I said, have the setup. So through the setup, you've got the ability to manage your bank accounts. So in here you can start to feed in some of those bank accounts and so forth that we showed you in the MYOB Essential layout as well. Okay, so this is just a sample dummy company, so I won't go through setting it up because I don't actually have a real bank to link into it. But some of the other things you will notice is when we did log in, the login screen was different. Okay, so what we can do is we can open back out. Okay, so this is essentially going to log out and back in again. But you'll see, okay, when I log in, I've got what is called My Library. Okay, so My Library is where it's going to collate all your client files for you. Okay, you can also then jump online, and by logging in and doing it online, you can then start to actually run the same system online. So what you've really got the ability to do is once a file is online, you've got the risk, or potentially you would have the risk, that if somebody's got the file online and they're taking changes to that version, and someone else has got the file offline, for example, when I say offline on a PC, then at that stage there's clearly two versions of the same file. Now if people start making changes to the online one, then it's going to have a version control issue. Now MYOB do a pretty good job of managing that. When you do go online, it does say to you, do you want to, basically we're going to lock away the PC version. Okay, so what they're saying is be aware that what you're doing on the web version won't be updated in the PC version, and then when you're ready, you can bring it back down to the PC version. You just need to be careful that you don't end up with people making changes in both those online and PC versions at the same time, and then bringing one in and overriding data, in which case you end up with a mess. Okay, so you just need to be a little bit careful in that space. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you can have it on the web at the same time as the PC. It doesn't work that way. It can't from an IT perspective. Okay, so it is better than Xero in that it gives you the functionality to be able to download it, own your own data, take backups. The risk that you don't have in Xero that you do at MYOB is that version control. Okay, so again, with more functionality and power comes more responsibility and risk. Okay. Now, the other thing that can be embarrassing is when you go to log into MYOB 2013 or 14 or whatever it may be, sometimes you go to log into a file and it says, it gives you an error message and it says you can't log in because your count write libraries are not available. And it's quite embarrassing when you go out to a client and you're sitting in front of the client and you can't even open the software. Okay, and I'm going to show you how we can fix this. It's quite a technical fix, but I'll go through it because we do want to make sure our mentor students going out and using the software can at least open the file in front of clients. Now, if you do get an error, what you need to do is press your Windows button and your R button, R for run, at the same time. Your Windows button for me is down next to my control and function buttons on my keyboard, and it looks like a flag. So if I press I and run, or R at the same time, it brings up a run screen. Now this is a Windows process. If you've got a Mac, I'm not sure how to do it, but in Windows, what we're then going to do is we're going to go into Services and MSC. Now it doesn't stand for this, but I think of MYOB Service Center. It just makes me remember the letters. Okay, so once I do this, I'm going into the background of your computer. And again, this is not to do with MYOB, but it's actually in your computer itself. And it's going to open up in the background all the type of files that your computer will automatically start running or not start running when you turn your computer on. Okay, so a lot of system stuff. But if we go down to MYOB by clicking M and scroll across, you're going to see things like our MYOB server, okay, scheduler, things like that. Now, if you're getting the error message, you will find that the status of one of these, I won't actually do it, but would be not started. Okay, so probably the library one is the one you're generally going to find is not started. So to start it, you need to right click on it and click on start. That will then go and start essentially the server that runs the SQL database that MYOB is now based upon. Okay, once you've done that, you'll be able to get out and go back in and start using the file. Okay, so again, we're talking about small business software here that most small businesses can't use. Okay, they can't do this type of stuff. Okay. The other constraint is that, as we're seeing, if you've got an old computer, if you've got less than 2 meg of RAM, MYOB will tell you that you can't install it on that computer, or it doesn't run optimally. Now, it doesn't run optimally means it runs like a dog. Okay. Now, a lot of small businesses, they've still got old computers that don't have 2 meg of RAM. Okay, it's becoming less of an issue as we go forward, but at the same time, the software that MYOB is developing is requiring more and more software requirements from hardware. So some of the concerns that I've got is we're getting to the point where we've got small business software that doesn't actually run on small business machines. Okay. Now, to address some of those, MYOB has just brought out in the last couple of days 2014, and I'm going to take you through a slide pack that's brought out with the 2014 version to show you what some of the changes are. Okay, so here's a document from the MYOB community, and it talks about some of the things that the 2014 version now has. Okay, so I'll run through some of these pretty quickly. There's some gimmicky stuff. I don't think this adds a lot of value, but you know, there's, as you now drill down on your debtors, it tells you, it highlights which ones are overdue by some traffic light type reporting. It also gives you a little, button you can click on. I don't particularly see that as too exciting, but it is there. It does bring in the average days to pay. Okay, so there's some benefit there if you're doing budgeting or cash flow forecasting. Okay. We can scroll down a bit more. Recording purchases faster. Okay, in previous updates, the biggest problem that people complained about was speed. Okay, as I've said to you, the software is just too slow. They've now, as part of the 2014 release, have significantly increased the speed. Okay, now we'll talk down a little bit further. There are some benefits in here in leave management. So, for example, in our payroll course, we teach you about the need to, in the older versions, to be able to have to go through and check that staff actually have entitlements before they take those entitlements, before you pay them. And actually that process involves going back into their card file and jumping through about 2 or 3 steps to get back and have a look. Now, we've got to do that every time someone wants to take annual leave or sick leave, okay, or long service leave. MYOB have listened, and they have now implemented that as a automatic step. Okay, so it's going to now give you a warning message if they don't have enough leave. So in my opinion, that is a big step forward, and that's some functionality that will definitely help in the payroll space. Okay, there's a few other minor things in there you can have a look through. Nothing too exciting. Here's the big one for me. Okay, keeping your account right up to date on your PC shouldn't be a hassle. We've made big steps to make the update process faster. Okay, so it's now about 50% faster to install the software than it used to be. It used to take a long time. Okay. Okay, and then we've got the analyze inventory. So in our SAP course that I run, I talk to you about available to promise. Available to promise looks at what's on hand, but it also looks at sales orders and purchase orders to forecast out what will be available in certain dates in the future. Okay, so this is MYOB starting to make that small transition towards some of the functionality that ERP would have. Okay, so again, this is good. I haven't actually tested it yet. It's only come out in the last day or two to see how well it actually works. But in theory, that should be a report that will add some good value to us. And now, there's a few add-on centers you can start to lead into other solutions as Xero would allow. Super is going to, some of the rules for Super are going to change with clearinghouses being required for companies with employees over 20 employees, I think it is, from the 1st of July 2014, subject to the Abbott government changing that in the next couple of months. That will come in. Okay, so there are some options here where you can do some new Super functionality coming through as well, and I expect that's something that will be utilised a lot by businesses, especially the medium to larger size ones. Okay, so then there's a bit of other talk, so I'm just going to scroll back for a moment. I do want to just bring you back to probably the speed is the thing I do want to talk about. Okay, so if I scroll back up to the speed areas, okay, let me just have a look through here. So again, this is the speed. They are talking about the speed, and in their own marketing, they have honestly made an assessment. They're not there yet with the speed, but they are getting better. Okay. And I can tell you 2014, for the first time, it is actually becoming quite a good software. Okay, 2012 don't touch, 2013.1 and 0.2 versions, yeah, still have bugs and were slow. 2013.5, most of the bugs were gone, but too slow. 2014 now is going to be, as I said, starting to become usable software that we would now recommend to some clients, depending on what their requirements are. Okay, so there's a bit of an overview of 2014, some of the software that we've got options for, and let's now jump back into our slide pack and have a look at what we're talking about. Okay, so again, we've looked at the old traditional PC versions here, we've looked at the online versions. Now the online versions, you can buy those, or you can rent them, so the newer version you can rent or buy. If you want to buy it outright, so let's talk about Account Right Plus. If you want to buy that outright, the cost is $1,020. If you want to rent it, the cost is $70 per month. Okay, so you're going to work out the payback period is going to be somewhere around about that year and a quarter, year and a half before you get the money back. Okay, so assuming you're going to be staying in the product for a long time, you're probably better off actually buying it outright. Okay. One of the disadvantages of that, though, is you don't get the automatic updates unless you're part of the MYOB subscription plan, which costs you some money as well. Okay, so the benefit of going and renting it is as the new functionality comes out. So, for example, we've just gone from 2013 to 2014. There's a couple of new functionalities in there, in particular the speed. If you're renting it, you'll automatically get those updates. Okay, if you bought it, then you won't automatically get the updates in that space. Okay. So then let's jump down to MYOB Premier. The MYOB Premier hasn't changed from what it was probably 5 years ago. In the layout, in the web, there is no web-based version. It's essentially what it used to be. And what it used to be, and what it currently still is a very robust, very good, very solid, very well-priced product. Okay, now, it was about $1,300, it's now about $2,000, so it's becoming less good value. But in my opinion, for medium and large size companies, that's a good software solution. Now, MYOB hasn't really played around with this Premier product in the last probably 2 or 3 years, while it has with some of the other web-based versions. In my opinion only, I think that's because they knew that these ones weren't working properly, and they know that the Premier is where they get the bigger dollars from. So they wanted to leave that stable and working and not upset all the customers by trying to follow Xero and roll out software that they weren't ready for. Now that they've got 2014 out, I can tell you that over the next couple of months, MYOB does intend to release MYOB Premier on the cloud over the web. Okay, so it's yet to be seen how that will work. I expect it will have bugs in it. From my experience of using the 2012 version, when that first came out on the cloud, it had a lot of bugs in it. So I personally wouldn't be jumping anywhere near the cloud version when it first comes out. I would want to let it settle down for a couple of months. You can have a look through the MYOB community during those couple of months and see what people are saying about it. If it's looking robust, great. You might want to jump on and play with it and maybe even buy it, but don't be the first person to buy it. Okay, you'll be the bunny that's got to go and test it and find the bugs. So MYOB Premier is still currently running as version 19.9 as of April 2014. Now, there is an issue that version 19.6 and back, sorry, 19.7 and back, do not run on Windows 8. Okay, so if you're using Windows 8 or above, when they bring out whatever comes next, it won't run 19.7 or back. Okay, so what that means is you need to get version 19.8 was brought out specifically for Windows 8, and version 19.9 has now got some tax table updates that I believe will run on Windows 8 as well. Okay, a little bit other thing about some of the software, some of the older versions, so for example version 13, 14, some of those versions in MYOB of these bottom 3 products in here, they were designed to work on XP. They will work on everything up to Windows 7 if you know how to install it properly, but they won't work, so something like version 13 MYOB will not work on Windows 8. Okay. In addition to that, MYOB is now saying that with XP being turned off by Windows over the coming months, that they are not going to support some of those old products anymore. Okay, so some of the products, they're not designing any product to run on Windows XP anymore. Okay, so if you've got XP, you're going to find that the new versions of MYOB just won't run on it. Okay, so you basically got some of the Windows 8 won't run some of the older products, and Windows XP won't run any of the new products. Okay, so you need to be aware for that as well. Now there are Mac versions of some of these. Okay, there is a Mac version of Premier, and that sells for $2,200 and brings you the same kind of functionality, but it does have some of the benefits of Enterprise in there, which is what's a little bit more expensive than the $2,000 Windows version. And there is a Accounting Plus version, which is on Mac, that you can get, that will cost you $1,000. And there is no accounting one. You're dropping down to Business Basics, which is $319 on a Mac. Okay. Now, at this stage, there is no cloud-based solution for a Mac product. Okay, as I said, Macs are great for drawings and art, but if you want to run businesses off them, a lot of software solutions that just won't provide solutions for them. Okay, so you can't at this stage run the cloud-based version on a Mac. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of each of the products, what's coming out, what's different. The bank feeds is a big thing that's going to start to change the whole culture of bookkeeping within Australia, so you need to be across some of those. You also have the ability at the moment, if you want to jump on to the MYOB website, you can download a free trial of version 2014. Have a play with that. I'll encourage you to look through it, have a look at the sample company. Currently the Premier is the version 19.9 one. You can download and get a trial of that. Okay, so that brings me towards the conclusion of the MYOB software update. Thank you very much. But just before I do let you go, I would just like to point out, for those that aren't aware, we do run a mentor program where we do teach MYOB, QuickBooks, Xero, SAP, Advanced Excel. We provide you the opportunity to come and shadow doing some work experience with us to be able to build up your resumes and things like that as well. So while our website is currently being upgraded, it will look slightly different, but if you go to the Quinlan Training page, you'll be able to have a read through what we do offer. If you are interested, if you click on the Contact Us page, there is an area where you'll be able to fill out your details. I'll just take you to that in a moment. Okay, so as we scroll down, you'll see the area you can put your data in here, and we will send you out an information pack about the Mentor program. If you are already experiencing the benefits of the Mentor program and or have already gone into a pay job as a result, we would encourage you to be able to share this information and this video, this whole video. We encourage you to share this particular one with your friends and colleagues. There is no password, so we do encourage sharing of this particular video. We think it's good that your friends would hopefully be able to benefit from the same experiences that you've had. So again, thank you.